Yeah, dinosaurs when it lived between 65 million and 275 million years ago. And the oldest fossil record of grass is 55 million years ago. So, I mean,
So is
maybe
that
there's just not
before Christ?
55 million years ago would have been well before Christ. Yeah.
Okay.
Christ is 2,000 years ago.
So Christ is newer than dinosaurs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah. And think about this. So I'm going to fuck this up, but the Tyrannosaurus Rex to the Bronchiosaurus, I think is
Hmm.
what it was called. There's more time that elapsed between the time that one was alive and the other was alive than between the T-Rex and humans.
What?
Yeah. So the time from like human existence to T-Rex,
It's way off, dude.
that's a smaller amount of time than T-Rex and the Bronchiosaurus.
Wow.
That just goes to show you how long dinosaurs existed and that some went extinct while others were still living. You know what I mean? It's like we
Okay.
forget about that. How much time, like when you
A
think
lot.
about time in like how
Numbers.
it relates to the universe and the existence of the universe and how long ago they can like look back at the history of that. It's like something like 13 billion years and then they can't even see any further than that.
Crazy shit.
I still keep going back to that video. I've talked
Yeah.
about it too much on here,
I
but
know exactly which one you're talking about.
I posted a new one last night that was kind of like a variation of it. I just get immersed in it because it just shows you it's the exponential growth of things that bugs me out because it's not just how much bigger the sun is than the earth and then how much bigger the Milky Way galaxy is than the sun, but that then when you pull yourself like to that level of things, there's as many galaxies in the universe as there are grains of sand in the entire earth, or probably more. So then when you think about that and that each one of those galaxies is so immense and so humongous, it's not just the solar system that our planets are. That's just like a micro
Yeah.
of, you know, a fractional portion of the entire Milky Way. And then when you think about the fact that there's like as many galaxies as there are grains of sand in the earth, and then that is then on like then the exponential scale that galaxies and grains of sand are, that there's like it just keeps going and going. I can't even explain it. You have to watch the video. But if you think about it in those terms, as opposed to just like, oh, look, the earth compared to the sun, it's like once it gets to the galaxy level and then it starts like extrapolating out even further and
Your
further.
brain can't even comprehend it.
Yeah. And then it's like you see everything that happens and it blows your mind. And then you realize that that's all contained inside of one little tiny circular thing and that there's gazillions of those. And you're just like, how is that even possible?
Yeah.
I mean, how is that possible?
I don't know. That's why there's like people like Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I don't think he fucking has a clue.
No, dude. It's all speculation. That's all it is.
I mean, think about that though, right? I mean, think about it. I was talking to somebody the other day about I was talking with my wife and about going to Mars, and it takes 7 months to get to Mars. And she's like, fuck that.
Okay, so the whole time you're going, is it just nonstop? You're going like 5,000 miles an hour?
Yeah, but I think once you're outside of the atmosphere and you're in space, you don't realize how fast you're going.
Okay, because I think
Because
a lot of
you don't have that gravitational resistance.
The gravity's a killer.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so hard to get out into the atmosphere. And once you're there, it's just kind of like putting the fucking bike on like 13 low. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Shit.
Would you go?
I don't know.
Like if you got a
It'd be
phone call,
like it's just
if
one
you
of those
got
things that it's I don't think ever think it's real, but I mean it could be. And then when I actually think about it, I'm
like if you got a phone call or somebody showed up at work and they're in a suit and they're like, we selected you based on whatever, genetic criteria, and you have to go to Mars, or we're asking you to go to Mars with 275 other people and Elon Musk. And
oh,
you
if
guys are
Elon's
going to
going,
go. Yeah,
I'm
Elon's
going.
going too.
I'll go.
You're going to go.
Yeah. As long as I'm not the only one going, I'm game.
Yeah.
I gotta have someone I can kick the shit with and like feel comfortable with. And I feel like Elon would be a good person to fucking go with. Not not only is he like super smart and like I would trust when stuff goes bad to have it, but I also think he would kick back and smoke a joint with you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's him and 200 there's 300 people, so 299 other people who are pre-selected based on a number of factors.
Can they really get that many people?
It's going to be multiple ships. So you're going to go in I don't know, 10 or 30 different shuttle trips with other people.
So now if like
And they're sending 300 because they know that a couple of those ships aren't going to make it. There's 30 ships going, 10 people each.
right.
And they know that 22 of them will make it. 8 of them are gonna fizzle out on the way.
Now this is weird to think about, but like we're basically just impregnating Mars at that point. We're just shooting a bunch of people off, little people. Not all of it's going to make it there, but just some, and whatever lands is going to just grow.
Yeah, very much. And who's to think that, especially when you kind of go back and reflect on what we were talking about on the exponential growth and size of the universe and time, when you really try to quantify what is 13 billion years in an exponentially expanding universe, what is that, right? And human civilization could have came and went more times than we could ever even comprehend counting to, numbers that we don't even understand. That's how many times human civilization could have possibly come to existence and gone away. And so are we ignorant to think that we are even the first people to ever go to Mars? Or is it just more realistic to think that maybe we're the first ones to go to Mars in the last couple million years, but that a million years in correlation to like billions and trillions of years of existence possibly is just a blip on the radar? I mean, think about it. It's even on a smaller scale when you look at things like the pyramids, right? It makes you wonder if civilization actually was just as advanced, but what we consider advanced, right? Technology, computer, cell phone,
Right.
that's what we consider to be advanced. But that's just maybe the direction that our civilization took. And that's where our advancements led us, was on this technological field. But maybe
Or on
their advancement,
architectural.
maybe their advancement was different, but it doesn't mean that they weren't just as advanced in their path as we are in ours. And that's the same, that however many civilizations have come and gone. I mean, why are we so ignorant to A, think that we're the only ones, B, that if we weren't the only ones, if there were others, that we are the most developed and furthest along? We seem to have this like very strong confidence that that's the case, but I don't understand why we would.
I mean, they could have had everything figured out. They could have had no racism, and it could have been like, look what we can do. Look what we can accomplish. You know, yeah. We were just like you said, we're just on this road of like technology, and we're just gonna do it until we destruct ourselves, essentially, I feel. I don't know how I don't know. I feel like up until now, I've understood how humans have like lived the lives they did. And now I don't see how like the same way of like living is gonna be okay with like technology being someone's whole life. And what I mean by that is like even getting married now it's scary. It's and like my generation, we only know social media. We only know um, basically unfaithfulness. And I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Anything bad now is just like immediately out there. It's way more so than good things, I feel.
Well, yeah, a lot of the characteristics and traits that we're demonizing in society are some of the traits that in a weird way actually give structure to some of those dynamics of a family.
Right. No, exactly. I mean, that's just, I don't know. That's just something I always think about. I just don't know how we can sustain, like, we're trying to live the same way, like, we've always been living, but it's like some things, like, really have to change. And I don't know. I don't see it. Weird. Understanding things that I've always known, but never really thought about until it's like you have to deal with them yourself. You can hear it 100 times, and it's like when you actually go through it, you learn in a whole new way. And like, I don't know, having 3 older brothers and big family, like you hear it all the time, hear certain things, but it's way different than going when you actually have to go through it. And that's in like everything from car insurance to, kids. It's even different now being an uncle. I don't know. I always just thought kids were just kids and like really, not that I didn't care, but was never a main priority in my life. And now I'm like, I look at a baby and I'm like, holy cow, I want one now. Not right now, but for a long time, I didn't think I ever wanted kids. And I never thought like I would care as much as I do now. But it's just like a weird feeling. And I can tell like that's a big part of my growth. I've noticed where like, it's not just me anymore. I got to be a role model.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be someone they can look up to and not like, be ashamed of. It's just like a different way of carrying myself. And I know it's going to be a slow drip change. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm different. But
yeah,
I feel like over the course of a couple of years, I have had to change.
well, I think we talked about this the other night when, we were saying how are you measuring progress, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I know I talk with you a lot, and we live in this world of, especially at social media, and God, we've got ourselves pulled into that, for a while.
Yeah.
And the excess, right? The Hollywood life, the LA life of fast cars and, expensive houses and just all the shit that everybody is measuring success by, which in a lot of cases is bogus. It's bullshit. I mean, Jesus, we had a front row seat to it. And
Definitely.
yeah, and I think there's such a need for people to understand that there's more to measure than just money, right? And look, monetary success is something that you should measure because
Yeah, it's nice.
yeah, it takes away a lot of problems, but I think there's disingenuousness if people say money means nothing. You know, that's just an easy cop out if maybe you're just not successful, right? But it certainly isn't everything, and it doesn't solve problems. It can create a lot of problems too. And the conversations that we've had over the course of, the last few years that you've been in California, you've done as close to a 180-degree turn in just in how you approach life. You were somebody who I never felt had goals. You didn't really, I think you're at a place now where you're really hypercritical of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good thing and a bad thing, right? Because like we talked about, you're never going to be perfect. And if you allow the pressure of trying to be perfect to get in the way of actually accomplishing what you're trying to do, that's not a good thing either. But I love the fact that the kid who I knew, and it's crazy because the 10-year gap for us made it's an interesting relationship, like especially because I moved away, you know what I mean? And I moved away at a time that was probably not the easiest for you, and that actually, in hindsight, being able to stick around, would have changed a lot of stuff, albeit we're here because of everything that happened. And so I try not to ever look back with regret, but I'd be foolish to not think that me leaving at a really crucial point in time in all of our lives didn't impact you, right? Or could have impacted things differently.
Yeah.
But when I came back and, like I saw this kid who had so much potential, but that didn't realize it and didn't care. You didn't seem to even give a shit. And so now to see you care, sometimes too much to a fault, I think you can right size, fit, and adjust that a little bit by just taking a deep breath and realizing you're not going to be perfect. But I would challenge anybody that's listening to this, and you could probably explain it much better than I could, how you shift that perception, number one, but that understanding that most often the financial success comes after the personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
And most people want it the other way. They want the financial success, and then they want to assume that that financial success will allow them to grow as a person and solve all the problems. And they think all the problems are financially dependent, right? Like, oh, if I get money, my problems are going to go away. And some of them will, definitely. But a lot of those problems are just going to manifest themselves again in a larger way on a bigger scale. That's actually going to be a lot harder for you to deal with because you never actually built the capabilities to deal with problems. You just had money that got infused into your life and that took care of them for a quick minute, but you took all the same actions and now you just had more money to create bigger problems. You know what I mean? And so I think when I look at you right now, and I said this to you the other day, I'm really proud of you because I think the personal growth part is going to sustain you for the long run. And you know what I mean? I give you credit, man. You're grinding it out in California, which is not easy. And I commend you for keeping your head down and continuing to do it. Mm-hmm. But, there's many ways to measure success. And I would say you should be very proud of how this is turning out for you.
Well, I'll thank a lot of it to you. When you did move away, it was, I don't know, I never really thought of it in that time. But like, it was a time where my other two brothers, Joey and Louis, they were at the age where they were hanging out with their friends and, 16, 17, and, they were off and they didn't really want to be at home. So it was usually me and either mom and, like one of her boyfriends, and her dad was off working, probably out of state, either drilling or driving, one of the two. So it was pretty rough, and I didn't fucking care about anything. I got ridiculed from my friends for the person my mom was with. I got ridiculed for like the situation. I felt just like everything was just negative. Every person like in our immediate family was just always stressed and like would just snap at the fucking crack of a whip. I don't know. And it just got to the point where I didn't care. I just didn't want to be around anyone in our family. I just wanted to be with my friends and smoke cigarettes and get high and be the kid that made a fucking ass of himself just to, get someone to laugh at me and get a little bit of attention in a positive way. And I can't say like it wasn't positive at home, because there was times where it was good, and we were a fucking happy family. I always had grandma, and she was always very supportive, and Aunt Carla and Aunt Billy and all those guys, but they couldn't be around 24/7. So I mostly just fell into the hands of my friends and just bounce around, pretty much hating myself because I was pretty much known as the kid who would eat 2 chicken wing pizzas every night. And
I can't get over how much weight you've lost. How much weight have you lost? Do you know?
I don't really know. It's just pretty much all my fat.
I mean, it's a complete...
because it's weird because I was shorter too at the time, so I mean it was probably same weight. But it's hard for me to keep weight off for some reason. Not like you guys. Like Joey and you can eat whatever you want.
Well, it's changed a little bit as I've gotten older.
Oh, sure. But Joey, I don't understand him. He'll eat ho-hos and Twinkies all night. But he does work hard to work, so he just got a pretty physical job, so I can't say that. But yeah, back to and then just growing up, kind of just repeating that cycle, just until
what clicked?
Moving away, being alone, and thinking for myself was the best thing that ever happened to me. Challenging myself, being responsible for myself, and not being able to fucking blame anyone else. Because I would play victim back at home and just always, didn't want to do anything because I felt bad for myself, and I can't do this because of this, or I'll never be worth this because of that. And then moving here was like, there's no excuse. I've seen you do it. I've seen Louis do it. I've seen Joey do it. And not wanting to fucking give up for once in my life, because I've quit everything. And even though it got really tough out here, just grinding through it, and it made me harder. And then I found ways to outlet myself in a positive way. And going back to what I said earlier, you were really helping me. It was when you moved back home. I don't know really what time that was, year wise.
You must have been.
like 2010, 2011,
Yep. Yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
And you were like really hard on everyone to like do what they need to do and like be responsible and fold your laundry. And I just didn't ever want to do it, never wanted to do it. But at least you showed me how to do it. I may not have done it in the time, but it fucking stuck with me. And I knew right from wrong at that moment. Before I didn't know any better. I just always thought it was a fucking free for all. And like, I didn't have rules because mom and dad were like, doing caught up in their own shit all of the time. It's like, we didn't have like a set thing of like chores or, you know, any responsibility. So yeah, it was nice to actually have someone to be like, no, you're rinsing your fucking plate.
I
And
know
you're gonna
most
put it in.
people. Not to interrupt you, but I know most people probably say this. They're like, "Oh man, if we had a camera crew follow our family around, we could have a great show." I wish people. I wish. Not even if it never made the air, that's fine. Although people don't know what they've missed out on. I think keeping up with the Joneses.
It would have been like the Walmart version of fucking keeping up with the Kardashians.
The
Same
Walmart.
thing,
That's
but it's
horrible.
just that is horrible. But I mean, that's just what essentially we are, just like growing up.
Yeah, but now being out in California, I mean, I wanted to ask you this because I mean, I spent quite a bit of time in LA right before my son was born,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and when we were like, it was pre-COVID and pandemic when, we were doing a lot of events and the shit that I saw in what I guess compared to you living in Southern California for how long now? 4 years?
Almost 4 years. Be
So,
4 years in April.
okay. I mean, I'm trying to think. I saw a guy taking a shit on the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen.
I saw a guy masturbating on the sidewalk last month, Valentine's Day.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to ask you,
Full
like,
blown.
what is the craziest shit that you've seen out in
That,
LA?
that with a big old smile on his face. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I was like, why is everyone like stopped in the middle of the road? I don't like look to my right. There he is. He's sitting on the bank. He like grass bank knoll, beating his meat.
Is it getting better out there?
Like in terms of homelessness.
Just in terms of like, yeah, I would say homelessness, pandemic. It's to me, it's all related. You know what I mean? Like
Just
the
chaos.
pandemic was the match that got thrown onto the pile of hay in the barn built 300 years ago with toothpicks, and that bitch is like raging inferno right now.
I haven't been to LA in a minute, but I heard it's bad. But I'm not sure because they recently opened up in the past week, and I saw they were doing like comedy shows again, indoors. So maybe all that will like kind of, because I heard like even Melrose, all those Sunset was completely like filled with homeless tents and stuff. It was
Yeah,
just like
yeah. Where we used to stay at the
a dead
Andes
zone. Yeah, all that was
next
just
to the
like
comedy store was.
complete
I
different.
heard it was not good.
Yeah, same. But I can't imagine that lasting. I'm sure businesses are gonna be like, no.
I just think
So, but who knows? I don't know.
it's just so crazy how quickly things turn. Do you remember? So like, just to go like back and enjoy some of this, right? I was like looking through old photos. I was doing some content, creating some stuff, trying to get trying to get some things situated for something that I'm working on with the podcast that I'm hopeful, I can announce here in the next couple of months. But I was looking back at old stuff that we had done and just organizing photos and videos. And I came across when we went to your buddy from West Coast Cure, Jared's buddy.
Mafia?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It was his birthday at Sway Lee's house, right? So like we end up riding in a limousine bus to Sway Lee's house in Encino.
Tarzana.
In Tarzana, yeah. Do you remember that night?
Yeah.
Do you remember the dude that had the video camera thing over his shoulders and like he had like
We're on a YouTube video.
Yeah. Yeah. I went back and found that video and was like watching it. And he was that guy was interviewing you and Joey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a month before I started working for them.
Bizarre.
It's crazy. It's so crazy.
Like I went back, I forgot there was a guy on stage with a violin. They're all, I mean,
it's
just
Sway Lee. It's Ray Schmierda, Sway Lee, Slim Jimmy, that guy with the violin. Yeah, that was a wild night. And then I had to go at 5:30 in the morning to the stucco plant.
Oh, that's right. You were working at a stucco plant.
And you got those tickets. I was like, I'm going. I don't care. I'm going. Yeah, we didn't get home till like, I don't know, 4:30.
Yeah. I just remember pulling off the off ramp and there was like a pack of fucking coyotes that ran through the intersection. And it was like you said, it was 4:30 in the morning. And the worst part was I was still working a day job back in Pennsylvania. And I had flown out to LA for this trip for like 4 or 5 days. And it was already almost like 8:30. And I had like a team sales meeting that I needed to go. And I had not slept. Up all night.
I remember.
My ears were ringing, dude. They performed a whole fucking concert in the living room. And I just remember being on my knees and just thinking like I could fucking fall asleep right now live on this call. They had no idea that I was in Los Angeles, that I had just been at Sway Lee's crib partying all night long. And I got on and was reporting on sales numbers.
Oh, dude,
what not to do. Yeah.
Holy
but,
shit.
I mean, maybe what to do, right? To me, I think I look at that and I'm proud of that because
do what you had to do.
Exactly. Right. Like, I was trying.
Some people would never even cross their mind to do something like that.
I was literally booking flights. I was flying to LA. I would leave work at like 3:00 on a Friday.
That's some balls.
I would drive to the airport. I'd get on a fucking Spirit airline. It was the only direct flight from Pittsburgh. Because everything else,
shoebox in the wings.
Yeah, dude. Everything else though, there was a layover, and I was like, every hour counted. I would fly out
straight through.
Yeah, I would fly a direct flight on Spirit, and no Wi-Fi. So I'd sit there with like a notepad and paper and I would plot out what was going to happen. Sometimes if I was really ballsy, I would like ask to work from home on a Friday and I would leave Thursday night and I'd fly out and I'd plan the whole thing, whether it was a photo shoot that we were doing. Some of the time we were having events.
Pull up in a McLaren.
Yeah, renting car. I mean, it was getting ridiculous, but I still had to figure out a way to pay my bills, right? And it's like I realized that it wasn't going to just like switch over right away. And I would literally take the red eye home. I would drive to the airport Sunday at like 9:30. I'd go to LAX, I'd get in my fucking flight, and I would fly home. I'd land at the airport. I would have a change of clothes in my car, and I would get changed, and I would go right to the office. And then, like,
Not
I
skip a
felt like
beat.
that movie 21, like,
Basically, dude. Like you don't even
and
think
then,
about it when you're living it, but like when you look back, you're like,
yeah. And then people at work started to find my Instagram account,
yep.
and then
They're
you'd
asking
hear people
questions.
talking about it. And then I'd see in my story, like, oh shit, the lady in HR is fucking looking. Oh God, the guy in accounting, he's pooping,
You're literally out in LA like every fucking weekend.
I know. People are like, wait, how are you doing that? Yeah. I was thinking about it. It was before that 420 event. And just how shady when we were there with Devin Alexander, that whole fiasco for the 420 gala. And we went to roll that half-pound blunt, or half-pound, it was like a half-pound joint of
Gold.
in the shine paper.
Yeah, 24 karat.
And I think back on that. What in the fuck were we thinking? We're at a recording studio in Hollywood. I remember just seeing eyeballs walking by the door, looking into the recording area that we were in, and then seeing people on their cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the closed circuit TVs inside of the rooms, which initially I remember being like, oh, okay. Well, I feel better now. I can see who might be out in the hallway or in the parking lot if there's trouble coming. And then I started to think about it, and I'm like, why the fuck do these people have closed circuit TVs inside of the recording studios? And then I realized, I'm like, oh, this is probably shit that fucking happens all the time. The fact that
Yeah.
we didn't get jacked. I mean, I guess prices are way up right now, but I mean, right there alone, I mean, there were thousands of dollars of fucking cannabis.
Products, yeah.
Oh, stupid.
Dude, people get jacked for $50 out here. Pair of shoes. Doesn't matter. People are desperate. I watched someone just pull up and just kill a lady in her front yard or right in her doorstep. It's just nuts.
Wait, what do you mean?
They caught it on the Ring video camera. It was a lady. She was loading her daughter into the car seat in her driveway, and a car pulls up, and she just starts running back, try to get back into the house, like towards the camera. Gets to the door, it's locked, starts pounding on it. She's like yelling something in Spanish. And the guy just walks up like nothing and just shoots her like 5 times.
She knew who he was.
Yeah.
It's like
It's just, yeah. But right in front of her child, everything, like just nothing.
It's horrible.
Savages out here.
It's horrible. Have you followed any of what's going on in Atlanta
A little bit.
with the massage parlors that got shot up?
A little bit, yeah. I heard that he killed like 8 people.
Yeah.
6 were Asian Americans.
Yeah, it's such an unfortunate situation.
Well, the whole thing was weird. Like why he did it.
Well, I read it. So I was starting to read everything, right? Because I saw, and this is what bothers me, and I'm just going to say it, and it's not going to be a popular thing. So fuck everybody if you don't like what I have to say. Because this is just how I see it. And I'm not trying to be disingenuous, because I don't think for a second that there isn't racism in this country. There most certainly is racism in this country. There's most certainly hate in this country. But what bothers me is when people build a straw man argument to try to push an agenda, even if that agenda is one that should be pushed. I agree. There should be less hate towards Asian people. And I don't know what the numbers are, if that has increased because of the whole COVID thing. It probably has. That makes sense to me. You know what I mean? I'd be foolish to sit here and argue without the facts in front of me that that isn't the case, because it probably has happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of ignorant people that just
Yeah.
hear the virus is from Wuhan and just point fingers. Definitely.
Most definitely. Definitely not trying to say that that isn't the case. But I see all these people, you know, the day after the shooting, posting in their social media platforms just big giant things like hashtag stop Asian hate, which again on the surface is something that I agree. We should stop hate across the board. And it gets into that whole thing of like, stop this hate, stop that hate, you know, these lives matter, these lives matter. I get it. And maybe I should just turn a blind eye and be okay. But the fact of the matter is, this guy, when you do the research, was a sex addict. And a sex addict in the sense that he was actually in outpatient care of some sort, like a halfway house. He went to rehab for it. He also came from a very religious family. From all the reading that I did, he came from a very religious family, and he was thrown out of his home by his parents. I believe it was his parents who still living with.
Was a Christian?
Mm-hmm. Because of this sex addiction. He went and killed these people at these massage parlors because, from what it looks like, he was tempted, whether he had been going there or had thought about going there because there was some illegal sexual activity going on at these massage parlors, you know, giving happy endings. And he looked at this as he was trying to eliminate the risk of him continuing to do something he was disgusted with himself about doing. Does it make it right? Fucking absolutely not. The guy is obviously deranged, horrible individual. But to craft it into something that it's not is doing a disservice to the people who are being discriminated against. Because if you're building something out of shit that's not factual, is the quickest way to get people to not give a fuck about it anymore, in my opinion. And again, if you don't like what I have to say, that's fine. That's your opinion, but I'm entitled to mine. And I get really fed up. It's like we have these platforms that are so powerful, and people just, it's like everybody that's posting that, you're not giving a fuck about anything other than making sure that you're not caught flat-footed not posting it.
Yep.
I mean, I remember when the whole posting the black square on Instagram thing went down. I had people sending me messages like, "Oh, you really showed your true colors today by not posting a black square." No, I was busy. I was, you know, I didn't realize it was even a thing. Sorry. It's just, it's sad to me. And this is just like the most recent example of it. So it's, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to like put my focus just all on this, but it's annoying when I see that, because, and it's annoying only because to me, there is a problem. There's a lot of problems in this country.
By posting a black square ain't fixing shit. And you're just using that. It's just something, oh, that's what you did. That's your deed. But you're not going to actually fucking do anything. Like, at all. You're not going to go help anyone out. You're not going to go research what needs to be done. You're not actually going to donate to charities that need, you know, help black people, or, you know, you're not going to do anything. Most of these people, you're just going to post a black square and you're going to make everyone else feel guilty by not. And it's like, maybe I didn't post a black square, but I went out and, you know, helped somebody that you needed help. or went out and tried to understand better, whatever it may be. But I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's just, I hope at some point in time, and I don't know what it's going to be. I really don't know how we get ourselves into the next phase of normalcy. My fear is that normalcy will be what we currently consider not normal.
Absolutely.
It's
going to be like it's almost like a fear. Like people are like controlled by fear, and then you're forced to be a phony. And then that's when we lose like authenticity. And I don't know. That's exactly how I feel. It. Like I don't know. Even comedians now, I listen to one. I'm like, they have to apologize before they say a joke, or they have to like make it a point that they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna get canceled." It's like, you don't need to say that shit.
You're trying to soften the blow.
Yeah, like how you're doing it in a way where you like think it's like funny, and you're not like doing it, like you're still doing it. Like you still feel like you have to, and it's like it's bullshit.
That's why I love Bill Burr
too.
Did you hear and see what happened to him at the Grammys? Okay, so you know.
Wait, yeah, or wait, I saw a little bit, but I didn't see the whole thing.
Yeah, so you know how like he got a lot of heat for his monologue when he did Saturday Night Live, right?
When was this?
This was recent. So I mean, I don't watch Saturday Night Live a whole lot.
Me neither.
Just usually doing something else on a Saturday night.
I like OG Saturday Night Live, like Adam Sandler, Farley.
Definitely.
It's the only ones I watch.
Yeah. I turned it on one night and he's hosting and he does his monologue and he just I like looked at Allison. I was like, oh man, he's going to take some heat. Like people were very uncomfortable with the stuff that he was saying about like women and just different types of cultures. And he was trying.
So that's actually live?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I always thought it was kind of recorded and they just.
Yeah. You'd have to go back and watch it because it's, it's been a few, maybe like a month or two.
Well, he's really like free to say whatever he wants out there though.
Yeah, they were trying to cancel him big time. And he was kind of like, you can't cancel me because I don't give a fuck, And so there's all this kind of like shit in the air that Bill Burr's a racist. Well, the other part of it that it can't work is Bill Burr's wife is black. He married a black woman. And so he's obviously not racist, even though he's as white as white. With fucking red hair and he's bald, right? It's like he looks the part. So I don't know if he had anything to do with this or if the universe lined up so perfectly, but he was asked to present an award at this year's Grammys. And he shows up to do it and he's got his suit on with a tie and he looks really nice. But it's one of those awards that's presented before the Grammys that like you hear about like, oh, the best, soundtrack from a Latin musical, Grammy. Yeah. And so it was broadcast on a live stream and he didn't get to actually be on the Grammys. But when they have him come up,
serious?
It was for like the best Latin female dance song or something like that. And he mispronounces the lady's name. And so now he's like, they're back on the cancel Bill Burr shit again. And it's fucking hysterical because it's like, if you actually knew who Bill Burr was and how he's made his, like, you're only fueling his fire for the people who actually love him. He doesn't want you to be his fan. He's already famous. He's already made it. And so he works in an arena where the people who love him because of what you're trying to cancel him for. So it's like, okay, He won't be on the Grammys again next year. That's fine.
He
He's going to
cares.
sell out every theater and arena that he goes to perform in, because as long as you give, and oh God, this is scary to even think, right? I'm like, as long as you give people free will and freedom to go and do these things, for him to perform and for us to go and watch, you're only strengthening somebody like that by pushing back when they're deliberately trying to toe the line to see how far they can go before you push back.
Yeah. Weird times. Weird times. Cancel everything. That's
Definitely.
why I love the 1 Minute Man. Because I don't like to watch like these long, intricate things. It's just give me the rundown. And that's kind of like, if anything good came out of COVID, I felt like it's these people, even yourself, like learn how to, make a positive out of it, and learn, like even the style of comedy evolved a little bit. And there's like, what do they say? Like the rapid.
Mm-hmm. Andrew
Like
Schultz does it
Andrew Schultz.
about as good
Yeah,
as anybody.
it's awesome. It just
Tim
gives you like,
Dillon.
yep, Tim Dillon. Just ranting.
You know who Kyle Dunnigan is, right?
Dude, his Instagram where he does. You know what my all-time favorite one is? The one where he does Bill Maher, because Bill Maher hates it so much. He does one where he's getting gangbanged by like Sylvester Stallone, and he watches it. He's so pissed because
Yeah.
he's like, don't, or he talked about it on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's like, see, I don't know that clown, or why he make videos about it or something. So we went off and made another one.
Now he's like targeting Cuomo.
Is he? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That guy's done.
Yeah, I saw something pop up today. I didn't get sucked into the clickbait, but it said that there's an audio of him saying something, comparing somebody to a child predator.
Hmm.
They said it doesn't sound good. I don't know. I haven't listened.
I heard his 8th person's come out, so he's sexually assaulted her. So I mean, like, these old school people think like that shit's okay, and it's like, it's not.
It's just so funny. Like, look, I guess a lot of women accuse Trump, and I don't necessarily believe all of them, although I do believe there's probably some who got themselves felled up a little bit by the Don. I don't buy that he was completely cordial. I mean, the guy's a playboy, but I also don't buy when all these other people deny it either, even though I should give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he didn't do it, maybe he didn't. But if he did, it's just like, I mean, you're the governor of New York. You killed a bunch of old people. You lied about it. You possibly covered up by having your staff like alter numbers that you were reporting
Yeah,
things to.
just so he didn't get investigated.
Yeah. Then you've got 8 women that come and say that you made them feel uncomfortable. Your brother, who is a anchor on CNN, lied about having COVID, or at least lied about
That
the
whole
severity.
thing was sick. Like, that's it. Like, it was actually sick.
Dude, he said that he chipped his teeth because he had such a bad fever and he was shaking. Yet he was outside with like 8 other people at a new house that he was building. Yeah, perfectly fine. And then chased a guy on a bike who was like, hey, aren't you supposed to be home quarantining right now?
Did you see him come out of the basement?
Yeah. Yeah.
He walks around his whole house, doesn't touch his entire family, just gives them these. I'm like, oh my God. They have it all on film. He's like literally walking up the stairs. He like unzips his hoodie, comes out of it like Superman. I'm like, this is sick. And it's like, you weren't in that basement for 2 weeks, buddy. You weren't.
Yeah, it's just, and Then I saw photos of him with, it was 100-pound dumbbell
Yep.
where he's like
Same.
holding the dumbbell up over his head like this and doing, and I was disappointed because unless Rogan may have been trying to like bait people, but
Mhm.
I heard an episode where he was talking with somebody about whether or not that was physically possible. And he's like, no, he's a big guy. I think he could have done that. There's no way in hell that was a real dumbbell.
No, I heard someone counter that, and they're like, "No, there's no way at all." He's like, If there's anyone that can do it, it would be me." He's like, "I would struggle with that, or maybe possibly not even be able to do it." He's like that. Yeah, right.
You know,
In a
have you
in a
ever seen
suit shirt.
I know, right? Have you ever seen the King of Queens episode where Doug is going to go
Yes.
back and play football and Danny
Yeah.
Cousins training him and he has the styrofoam plates that he calls the trainers and he puts on there, which by the way, and I hope that I'm not the person that does this because it might not be in the grand scheme of things the greatest TV show ever, but for me, that is probably my favorite TV show to watch.
Same.
Jerry Stiller
Makes me feel at home, dude.
It does. There's something about it. It's absolutely hysterical. Kevin James, although corny and a lot of other stuff, is great. The dynamic between him and Leah Remini.
Yeah, he is corny in a lot of other stuff.
He's very corny.
He's on fire in that show. It just works.
It's so perfect. And his relationship with Carrie and then Arthur's character, Deacon,
Arthur, dude.
It's cast.
Even I'm starting to warm up to Deacon, dude.
Yeah, Deacon's
more.
a
I've seen every single episode, but now that I'm doubling back, starting to like catch all the little other nuances.
Jake, so let me just explain. So we send each other clips back and forth all the time, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll post some sometimes, and then I don't want people to think I'm too much of a weirdo. That's all I do. But when I tell you that I've been engaged for how long now? I got engaged in 2009, I think.
Wow.
It's been a long time, right?
Yeah.
The day that I got engaged, she got me every season of King of Queens in the box set for the DVDs. And I've watched that multiple times, but I had seen every episode through reruns probably. I mean, there were some that I didn't obviously see.
Right.
But I've seen so many episodes and I never realized it until now as we're illuminating society on how racist and sexist that we are. But if somebody wants to, I mean, dude, they could cancel him and everybody else. They go back and cancel every episode of Seinfeld because Jerry Stiller's in Seinfeld. There is some straight up homophobic and racist ass shit in that TV show. And it's absolutely hysterical because it's done in a joking manner. But I mean, that episode specifically where they're talking about the whole reason that Doug's even going to play football in the first place is because Deacon's son is acting like a little flamer. And they're like, he's like, I don't want him to be a sissy. And I mean, I think they flat out said, they're like, oh, you're just mad that your kid's being gay. And it's like, but it's on television. I mean, it's literally, you can turn on TV and see that it's like King of Queens reruns all night long. And I'm so grateful. And I'm petrified that this is going to basically end King of Queens syndication, but
at least you got the box set, buddy.
Right? I mean, but think about it, right?
I know exactly what you mean. I was thinking about the same thing. I was thinking about they still have Kramer on TV.
Yeah.
That guy, like, you ever see his video where he flipped his lid?
Yeah.
Sorry to change. Did you see Jose Canseco get knocked the fuck out?
No, when?
Probably like last month. He was fighting
like in
someone from Barstool, boxing in Rough and Rowdy, and he fucking got his clock clean. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's pretty funny because I saw Logan Paul was roasting him too. He was like, "You better quit roasting my daughter. I'll come kick your ass or something." He's like, "Shut up." He's like, "By the way, I love." Or he's like, "Come try it." He's like, "I love pounding consecutivos," because he was dating his daughter. I was like, "Oh shit."
Tell you what, man, that is going to be an interesting fight. His brother, when Jake Paul fights Ben Askren, initially I was like, that's just so disrespectful to Ben Askren. But I've been watching some of Jake Paul's stuff.
Dude, this has got to be messing with his head, Ben's. Like, it would psych anybody out.
Well, because initially I was like, come on, give Ben Askren a little bit of credit. He's a professional fighter. He was an all-American wrestler. The guy has been on the highest stages in combat sports, even though he's not a striker. What's that?
He's an Olympian wrestler, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, even though he's not known as a striker, he won multiple titles. He won the one title. He won Bellator. He went to the UFC. He's fought very good strikers, but he's neutralized their striking by how great of a wrestler and grappler he is. So it's like
just knowing how to be in.
When you have somebody that's going to knock you out and you're able to grab a hold of them and take them down and then hold them down for 3 rounds or 5 rounds, you can't do that in boxing. And it's like, am I only giving him the respect that I said that he deserves because of that? And does he deserve it just based off of his hands? Because that's all you're going to get in a boxing ring. And I don't know, man. The more I think about it, I'm like, I have a feeling Jake Paul is going to starch him. And
how big is he? He's a big kid.
Jake, he's a big dude. Yeah.
I think Ben Askren's what? 5 something?
Yeah, Askren fought 170. So he probably, I bet you he's walking around 190. He just had hip surgery though, too. He had a whole hip replacement.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, but then it's like, where does it go from there? You know, where does it go? If you beat Ben Askren, now you've dipped your toe into the water of the fighters. And so you can only go up from there. Who do you fight? Well, you're saying you want Conor McGregor. I'm sorry, bro. You can't close the gap of the talent deficit that you have with somebody of that caliber striking. But the payday would be astronomical. And so I almost think it's worth it. But I mean, think about that. We're in a world right now where, and I saw Logan Paul's manager posted on social media today, more people watched Logan Paul open Pokemon cards live on YouTube than watched the Grammys.
That's fucking insane.
More people watched Logan Paul open Pokemon cards on YouTube than watched the Grammys. And people want to know why I'm podcasting. Like, think about this. You turn on the television, especially when you grow up in a town like where we grow up, right? There's people that are living in Bradford who, and I'm not even like kids our age, although I'm sure there's some our age, but just our parents and their parents, things are so much different than they are in a big city. Some for the better, some for the worse. And I think for the worse, it's in the sense that, like, how many people are even watching something like, call it Tucker Carlson, even a big show on Fox News, or a Rachel Maddow from a news perspective, right? How many people tune in on a Thursday night to that and hear what they have to say?
Quite a bit.
A couple 100,000, maybe 300,000 people. I'd be curious. I may even look. You know what I mean? But when you start to think that some of the largest podcasts in the world have 10, 20, 30 million downloads per episode. Now that's globally, but that's part of the benefit. You know, I've said this so many times. It's like,
you can relate to everybody.
I felt a little, I don't know how I felt. In a way, I kind of smiled, right? But you expect all this support from people, especially when you grow up in a small town and you know everybody. And I've talked about this before, but it's like nobody wants to be outspoken and support you until they see somebody else do it, because nobody wants to be the person stuck in a small town supporting somebody who's not there and having other people in that small town
hating them
because they like you. And so it's funny, yet I still, it's hysterical when I look at the people who don't actually click the follow button on social media, but who are watching what I do every day and go out of their way to search me and watch what I'm doing, and who may or may not listen to the podcast. But when you live in a small town, you get tied to how big something can get. You know, whether it's, I didn't know a whole lot of people that made more than $30,000 a year. I didn't think making more than that was even possible. And if it was, I was like, I don't envision how I'm going to be able to do that. I didn't envision how I could own a house that was more than $60,000 because I didn't know a whole lot of people that did.
You don't know any better.
You know, and so
no idea.
You can kind of like limit yourself. And I remember thinking like, man, if I had half of the support that I should from the people who I grew up with or who are from my hometown, you know, Jesus, like that could be really helpful. But then it starts to grow and you start to see like, oh my God, I have people that are watching this in the Netherlands. There's people in Australia. Oh my God, there's like a couple hundred people in the UK now. Like there's people in Canada.
Cool.
There's people, I mean, you start to realize that you can build these communities that we were stuck in. And I have this really unique perspective. It's kind of interesting. You don't. I grew up in a day and age where there was no internet, there was no cell phones. It was just, you were kind of limited to how far you could ride your bike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is like perfect timing. It's like we're so close, but yet we're so far apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never had all of these things to put a fence around me.
Mm-hmm.
As a, you know what I mean? Like, or I guess I did have things that would be the way to put it, that put a fence around how far I could do things. Like there certainly were people who lived in a world where they were cultured and traveled a lot, but I was about as cultured as Virginia Beach.
Yep.
Couple every 3 or 4 years to be able to go on vacation down there, right? So you start to depend and only live in this world where the 8,000 people in your hometown are the only ones that exist and matter. And
Actually,
not that I don't appreciate the support of anybody from Bradford or wherever, but when the support starts to be larger than that group of people, it starts to be less important for you to give a fuck what they think.
right.
It's like
impacting way bigger than I ever even imagined.
Yeah. And then you start to realize that I'm just on the tip of it. But the cool part is it's like every time I do one of these things, and that's the great thing about podcasting, you know, and I saw Matt Austin, just him and two of his buddies just did dropped a new podcast. They've got like 4 episodes out. Shout out to them. Yeah, it's kind of funny actually. I was listening to it.
I'll have to check them out.
Yeah, it's called I'll have to look it up. I'll send it to you. It's funny. It's on Spotify. And but it's like, you know, I have Eben Britton on, right? He goes and shares that he's on the show. There's people who love listening to Eben that tune in to listen to him talk to me. They don't give a fuck who I am, but they tune in because of Eben. And maybe 10 of those people, 20 of those people get a vibe or see like, oh, well, shit, Ryan Mickler was on too.
Right.
Oh, Tim Kennedy was on there. And so now somebody who found me because I had a conversation with somebody like Eben, who I just just having the ability to sit down and chat with him it's just so beneficial for me, even if nobody listens. He's such an eye-opening person. I left that conversation so changed. The same with Ryan, the same honestly with everybody, even talking with you. And you're my little brother, it's crazy how these conversations impact me. It's crazy that they can impact other people. And it's crazy how the network continues to grow. Every time I have somebody else new on, and then, they tell somebody about it, or it's just, that's why I do it. And I mean, we got so far down a rabbit hole on this, but like back to how it's only going to keep going that way. You know what I mean? There's going to be very few cable television shows, and I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. Things are going to go so on demand because there's not going to be enough meat on the bone to sustain individual networks. There's only one or two good shows, and the rest, I mean, how many viewers is a TV show on True TV getting at 2:30 on a fucking Thursday afternoon?
None.
Like, I would be curious to ask somebody, what is like the advertising cost of a commercial for 30 seconds to run on, True TV or TLC or one of those other low-level channels on a non-prime time.
Right.
And how many eyeballs are actually on it?
Probably like 16,000.
That's what I mean. You can go find some fucking chick who's had her Instagram deleted 8 times because she posts about pussy and cannabis in LA, and she's got more people looking at her fucking Instagram than that.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. I just bought this TV. It's Roku, and it's like all it is different channels of streaming services. So it's like HBO's streaming service, Apple's streaming service, Peacock, Netflix. It's just,
and then you can pay like a subscription to any of the streaming services.
Exactly.
And your TV facilitates it as like an aggregator of all of them.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, why would I pay $300 for cable a month?
And here's what I would tell you, not to like get off of this, but think about that, right? Everything has a path. And everything follows a path. If you want to be successful in the future at anything, part of it is recognizing the patterns and how do they correlate to what's going on currently today, right? So the people who are able to predict that cable television was going to be a thing of the past and that it was going to be more on a consumption basis.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people that are winning right now, that speculated that to be the case, right? And and how would they have known that? Well, you could have looked at how music started to go on demand, right? Yep. There were record labels and there were physical music. You'd go to the store and you'd buy CDs, and then it all went digital. And then you didn't have to buy a whole CD with 15 songs because you only wanted to listen to 2 of them. You could just go on your phone, download an app, and you could stream the music, only the music that you wanted to listen to. And it didn't happen overnight that's what happened with television because the infrastructure was too built out, right? But the people who are able to recognize that and to say,
cashed in.
Yeah. And some of them, many of them actually, were probably very invested in the legacy system, how television and media was set up. And quite honestly, I bet you a lot of those people who were heavily invested in that were also a part of the proverbial brake on the engine that kept it from actually keeping up with how music went because they weren't ready. And all those players needed to shift their investments and get themselves positioned for this new way of consuming content. But then there's going to be people that don't want to admit that that's going to happen. And they'll be broadcasting on television to a bunch of nothing.
Yeah. It's, I don't see it being around much longer. Even like the movie theaters, things like that. I mean, I know they got like the whole system now where they have the comfy seats, the dinners, pretty much, drinks. But for me, I'd rather just be home, order something on my TV, not go waste $25 on a thing of popcorn.
Well, and again, think ahead, right? So wouldn't it be awesome if you, and maybe you can, because I've never fucked with a Roku TV, but what if you were able to integrate your Grubhub or your DoorDash into your Roku TV so that when you sit down, order your movie, you can also order a pizza that gets delivered or some popcorn or, you know what I mean? Like,
Where the world's going, dude? Nobody wants to like think anymore. Just
well, here's a question for you. Drove by McDonald's. And this whole pandemic, McDonald's, Arby's, Wendy's, Chick-fil-A, all the fast food restaurants stayed open.
Yep.
Everybody else had to shut down. Now I get it. It's not just that simple. They have drive-throughs. I get it. Right. But there was this real condescending attitude that like, we have to help you because you can't help yourself. We have to help. The government has to help keep you safe because you guys aren't able to keep yourself safe. So we're going to shut these restaurants down. We don't care that you just invested your life savings to open this place. Fuck you. Close it down. You guys can't keep it open because we have to keep people safe.
yep.
Well, I would ask, look at the numbers. Why does McDonald's now have a line around it? What is one of the leading causes of death, comorbidities of COVID? It's obesity. It's things like diabetes. It's being unhealthy. And so either we drastically missed it or it's disingenuous from the start and you never gave a fuck to begin with, because how do you say that sincerely that you're trying to keep people safe? So we're going to shut down all of these places of business to do so, but go to McDonald's and get your breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Go get fat.
Go into Walmart, herd in there together.
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds of you.
Why not speak up about that? Is it that we're ignorant? We don't know? I find that hard to believe. I'm just a guy in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm drinking whiskey, you're smoking weed, and we're smart enough to realize that that's probably not the best route if our overall goal is to have healthy people.
Exactly.
You know, but at least they take your food, they make it, and then they take it and they put it in a basket, and then they give you the basket so that you can take the food out that they touched because they don't want to give it to you.
And then touch the money and then touch your food.
Yeah, I mean it's such a joke, but
it was a joke. Or yeah, you we're not gonna allow you to fill up your own drink. We're gonna come around and do it for you. Okay. You do that.
we're gonna get you into jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I'm gonna start here soon. I don't know. I keep coming up with excuses. It's like I said before. It's gotta be when I'm ready to fully jump into it, because I want to go into it hard. I don't want to
You need to be able to get there 2 or 3 days a week.
Now, how long are you there for? Like a couple hours?
So I've been going for an hour at a time, but now that I've got promoted up a little bit, I can go to open mats. So there's like another hour before or after my session, which is fundamental. So we'll go in, we'll learn a concept. And that's like the cool thing with Gracie. And I'm sure it's the same thing with 10th Planet or any other, school, but
where you going, Stout?
Yeah, I go to Stout.
And so Gracie's a style?
Yeah, so he's a black belt under Renzo Gracie. So he got his black belt, Christ, I want to say, I think 7 years ago, out of from Henzo's up in New York City, which is like,
So that dude's deadly.
oh yeah, Warren's a badass for sure.
Okay, because he kind of seemed like a really like not that he didn't seem like he could fucking ruin somebody, but he just seemed like a really nice guy.
He's very
And just like
very
the things he was doing, he was just like, I don't know, he's just very modest. I can tell.
Oh, so when you were listening, did you listen to the podcast that we did?
Yeah.
Yeah, now he's super super smart, and he's got a brother who I had on the podcast, who's a neuroscientist.
Oh shoot.
Um, he's got another brother who I think he's like in the real estate and land space, but he sells properties for like hunting. So like
Oh,
big 200-acre plots in and
that's
around
cool.
like Pennsylvania and Ohio, I think, and New York State maybe. And then he's got a younger brother as well who's big into jujitsu and trains at Stout. Is one of the coaches.
That's
But
cool.
yeah, there's a curriculum. So like the Gracie curriculum, you go through it. And so like for fundamentals, you're learning like a new move every week. Like this week for us, we're learning, knee passes and how you transition from like into a knee pass and into side control. And then you're also learning the flip side, like how do you defend that? And so
Okay.
you partner up and we're drilling back and forth. You'll try it from the top position and the other person will go to the ground and you'll put it into guard and you'll just drill back and forth.
Burning
And
into your
then
head.
yeah, and then like for the last 15 minutes of class, we'll go live and you'll just kind of work those moves in a live scenario with resistance and kind of maybe work in other things that you've learned along the way. And then as you progress, now I can go to open mats. And open mat is more, there's just an out, it's like open gym, right? So you can go,
Just
maybe you got a
focus on whatever
partner
you
that you
want.
go, yeah, and you just roll live.
That's cool.
And yeah, so it's man, it's fucking addicting. It's so
Do
addicting, and
you
that's
wear a
like
gi?
I wear a gi once a week right now. I roll in a gi on Wednesdays. I do no gi on Mondays and Saturday.
And I think was it 10th Planet? They don't wear one.
Yeah, 10th Planet's no gi. That's kind of Eddie Bravo. Eddie Bravo got his black belt from, oh man, now I forget. I want to say Marcelo Garcia, but I think I'm wrong. But he then opened up his own school and he kind of went against the grain and he decided to take the gi off and train in no gi. I honestly, it's changing. Initially, I really liked the gi, but the way that I have kind of started to develop how I go about it, I feel like just even my game is probably a little bit better in no gi. My
Yeah.
ability to create space, and I'm just a little bit slipperier.
What do you
It's
wear?
I wear a rash guard. I'll
What's
wear
that?
like leggings, like long, almost like Under Armour, like tight fitting, long sleeve leg
Okay.
and pants, just so that I try, keeps the rashes off of you because the mat can tear you up a little bit in some cases if you're not in a gi, and then ringworm, shit like that.
Right. I just have like I wanted to start. I have PTSD from when I first started swimming. Um, you're supposed to wear like a specific kind of jammer. They called them like men's speedo, but not a speedo for like kids. Like, so I think it was like sixth grade something. It's like my heaviest. But I went to Olympia Sports over in Olean with mom to get some of these jammers for a swim team. And they didn't have any, so she ended up just buying me like tight compression short underwear, Under Armour like underwear. And she's like, you'll be fine, just wear these. So I show up to my first practice, and first thing is like the coach is standing there with her son, who is like a varsity swimmer on like the high school swim team. So he's like, some big shot swimmer. And I see him whisper into his mom's ear, and they both look at me and start laughing. And like instantly I was just like, I don't even want to be here anymore. And yeah, that just ruined it for me. And so every time I start something new, I'm like, I gotta have the right shit.
I want to crack up laughing because I love you and you're my brother and that's just what we do. But think about that, right? I mean, thank God you're in a place right now where you can tell me that and we can kind of smile and laugh. But, there was a kid, right, who, to your point, you were at your heaviest.
Mm-hmm.
You were taking a chance to try to like better yourself and do something.
Yeah.
And somebody who held the keys, so to speak, for you, right? And I'm sure didn't realize that you were going to see them
right
taking a moment to make fun of you. And
I don't think
I'm guilty of it. But the impact that had on you, I mean, the fact that it's even still to this day, you're like, oh man, because you said this to me the other night. You're like, I don't even know what I would wear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's intimidating to show up somewhere with people who have skills that you don't understand. And then it's like, on top of that, I'm going to show up and be obvious that I don't understand it either because I don't even know what the fuck I'm wearing.
Yeah, dude. Exactly. It's like you're doomed before you start.
I think what you'd find is that is the great part about jiu-jitsu, is that all of the things that you're concerned about go out the wayside because for the most part, the community of people that you get to associate with don't give a fuck that you don't know. You know what I mean? It's like they're there for the art form. They're there for the workout. They're there for the challenge.
They're not there to be judging people.
Yeah. Maybe some people out of the gate. And I'm sure there's still some assholes. There's assholes in everything we do in life.
Yeah,
right? But
exactly.
It's like, for the most part, you get a pretty open mind. It's like you get measured on A, do you show up? B, how do you carry yourself? Do you work hard? And then, do they clip their toenails and stink? But I'm excited, man. It's like I found something again that I can work towards.
I know I'll love it, dude. I know, just because usually it's just follow suits, and anything you've done, like I usually like. And I feel like jiu-jitsu, definitely. And I'll have to challenge it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Now
get my wings, come back and roll with you.
Yeah. No, when you're ready, just let me know and we'll hook you up. We'll get you the right gear to wear so you don't have to even think about that. And if I can, whether it's a Gracie school out there or it's a 10th Planet, I can, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, I see both, honestly. I drive by them both.
I'll make sure that you're going to a good place though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that makes a difference too. It's like you go once or twice and you find, especially with how popular it is and a lot of people going.
No, exactly.
There's a big influx. You'll find, like, especially in fundamentals classes, a lot of people want to do it. But even just since I've been back since like Thanksgiving.
Yep. Time will tell.
Yeah. I had to take shit. Like it was like over a year off because of my neck, and certainly could have probably I know I could have gotten back, but I used my neck as an excuse initially because it was just didn't want to prioritize it. But
right.
Now that I've seen people who did the same thing, and it's like the saying that I've heard over and over is like a black belt is just a white belt that never quit.
That's a good way to put it. That's what people need to hear. It like helps understand, like, because the whole black belt thing is just, it's too hard to fathom. Like when people are like, it's what, 10 plus years usually to achieve.
Yes, I'd say like 7
of
to
your
10
ass
years.
getting kicked and you kicking ass and getting injured. That's the scary thing is like, I always think I'm like, I know there's going to be at least a good probably 10 to 15 injuries in there. Like they're just unavoidable.
I
And I'm just
we,
like,
we
but I
we think
can't.
very similar because I do the same thing where I'm like, I hear people talking about it and it's like this guy tore his knee, this guy did that.
Yeah,
And it's like, okay, so I'm basically there's no chance that I don't get out of this without like needing shoulder surgery or knee surgery or
exactly.
something. But I'm starting to get to a place where that doesn't, yeah, like I don't
Dictate
know.
it.
Yeah,
It's worth it.
exactly.
And that's with anything. It's like you get into the stock market, you're gonna lose hundreds of probably a lot of money. I don't know, but
Yeah. How many
eventually
times do you get elbowed in the face when you play basketball at the Y?
a lot.
Roll an ankle, you know, stub your finger. I mean, I've dislocated a finger. I looked down, saw my ring finger bent the other way,
Yep.
had to, but then it's like you learn how, I think some of it too is like you learn.
Well, also to the point when you're doing it, when you're doing something you love and like something jujitsu, it's like it's earned. So it's like you can almost be proud of it. When you do it, it's like in a stupid way, it just sucks. Like when you punch a wall and break your hand, it's kind of pointless.
Yeah.
Nothing
Well,
to that.
the finger I didn't even feel until I looked down and saw it.
Was it sideways?
Yeah, it was like 2/3.
That's nasty. Which one?
My ring finger.
Ick.
Yeah.
That's
But it
one I
didn't,
don't
I
think I'd
mean,
want.
it was sore afterwards, but other than that, it was fine. I've had my neck is like a constant thing for me. And it's kind of like it's nagging, you know what I mean? And there's
Now is
times
it
I get
your
pulled on it.
bone?
Yeah,
Your spine?
it's in between my C3 and C4. So right when I moved in, when I bought the house, I was painting and I was like reaching and I felt like this pop and
Yeah.
it didn't really want to get better. And I went to a
Were you
chiropractor.
doing it up here?
Yeah, I was actually kind of like leaning out,
Okay.
trying to
Because
like
usually it's when
go.
your arm's above your head is when you injure it.
Yeah, it was I was doing like the top mold, the crown molding in the one room, trying to just reach without like resetting the ladder.
Yeah.
And I went to a chiropractor and it almost seemed like it made it worse. And so I went and saw a neck doctor, a neurosurgeon who specialized in like these neck operations.
Yeah.
I got an MRI done and my disc was bulging. And the way it bulges is it like it's putting pressure on my spinal cord. So this guy's procedure, what you would actually do is like he would trim any of the bulge away so that you didn't have to go in and actually like take the disc out and fuse the spine. But because mine wasn't bulging out of the sides, he couldn't really trim it. So he's like, if we did surgery on you, you'd have to have a full fusion where they would fuse my two vertebrae together so that there wasn't any issue with that disc.
Now,
But
can you do anything with that?
yeah, I could still do things. I'd lose some range of motion a little bit.
That just sounds. They
It
make it
just doesn't.
sound fucking awful.
Yeah, and you're gonna have like metal shit in your neck. He's like, look, you don't want to do it. At the time, I think I was 31 when I went and saw him.
Mm. Also, this wasn't recent. I thought this was recent.
No, this has been bugging me for like 4 or 5 years, and I'll have like 2 or 3 times a year where I'll do something and I'll be down for a good 2 weeks where I'm like, it's hard to move my head from side to side. And I got it pretty good at training the other day, like about a week ago. But I've been progressing and I'm like belt promotions are coming up. I just picked up some stripes the other night and I'm like,
Oh yeah, I saw that.
I almost didn't go on Wednesday because of my neck. And I'm like, I went and instantly the pain went away. but I broke some ribs. I bruised my spleen. My shins are bruised. My knees are sore. My fingers hurt. But I also feel like I'm in the greatest shape of my life again. Like, or at least I'm definitely not in the greatest shape of my life. I was in really good shape at one point, but
Mhm.
I'm getting back to a place where I feel like I'm in great shape, even though I'm very sore. And it's
Well,
like enjoyable.
getting beat on like that is good. It
Yeah,
helps strengthen your bone density too. Getting all,
definitely.
I used to think like the more you got beat on, like the weaker you were later on in life. But I mean, that's to an extent if you get excessively, whooped. But like having like bumps and bruises and shit like that, that's like you end up like one of those Russian people where they say they're like when you hit them, it's like fucking hitting stone.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to condition
Your
yourself.
body adapts to that. Yeah, definitely.
There's two things, and I'll leave you with this. Two things as far as jujitsu that I'm really starting to enjoy. Number one is the accomplishment, but more so like when you're learning individual techniques
Mhm.
and then you take something that you learned 3 weeks ago that you kind of forgot about and you do it subconsciously in training. And you're like, oh, like, okay, I'm starting to put this together. Like, I'm starting to figure this out,
Yeah.
which feels really, really cool. And then the other side of that is then feeling that confident and getting locked up with somebody who's been doing it even 2 months longer than you, and they twist your head off or pull your leg up around your neck, or put you in an arm bar and you have to
Like I'm gonna be
tap,
there.
and you're just like, it never allows you to get too overconfident, because the moment you feel really good about yourself, which you need, you
Mhm.
instantly get snuffed out and realize like, oh, that's short
Next
lived and I have
level.
to get back to work. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that is good because it's like everything your brain needs. It needs like that
Yes.
dopamine thing where like, oh, okay, I'm achieving something, and then it's like,
Don't get
wham,
too cocky.
yeah. No, that's like that's more than just physical shit. That's like meant the way they put that together.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Never thought about it like that.
We'll get you into it sooner or later.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's coming. I need something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like just going to the gym. It's like I can't apply it to anything. Stupid. Like what? Like yeah, I feel good, but I don't care about benching. I'd rather like go be strengthful in a way that's useful
Mm-hmm.
because that's a hell of a workout.
I notice my cardio by far. It's hands and
Like doing that and like doing push up, like
yeah.
a lot of body weight stuff. I'm sure you don't need
Mm-hmm.
to go to the gym and stress out.
Yep. Burpees,
Yep,
a couple kettlebell workouts, some push-ups.
range of motion shit.
Yep.
Even yoga. I love yoga. I do yoga and I don't even realize I'm doing yoga. I'm like, I'm doing yoga.
It's relaxing.
Yeah, it truly is. But I'll never like actually like sit down and do yoga. It's like I'll be like forced into it by like an injury or something like that.
It's good for you.
Hmm.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is
Hopefully,
episode this is episode 50.
ooh, specialty.
Yeah.
I'm honored. Thank you for having me on. Seriously.
It's crazy. It's March 20th. I released the first episode in May. So it's almost a year.
It's so weird to think like that now because it's like in my head you're just like the podcast guy now. Like it's just so normal. Like that's just what you do. But like a year ago, like no idea. You know what I mean? Like how much that's changed. Like even just my perception of you.
Well, it's crazy too how it goes in iterations, because before that, we were doing, like, you were producing the Bud Brothers podcasts.
Yeah,
You know,
I
it's like,
forget about a
forget
lot of
about
that.
that.
I do.
I just looked the other day, the Student in Glass episode. I've been talking with Tracy again. I
Yeah,
reconnected with him
I
because
saw they're killing it, dude. They're doing like cookies collabs and
yeah, I don't want to even say because I haven't had like this type of conversation with him, but I'm interested to understand how that all went down because I believe they sold a large stake or the whole company to G Pen. And so, I mean,
because they had the
kudos to
connects.
him, man. Like they figured it out. And it's so crazy because we had early stages, we had him on the podcast, and I went back and looked. That episode's like it's 15-20,000 views right now on YouTube over just a short amount of time because that product has picked up so much popularity.
Wow, dude.
But I like went back and was looking, and it's like, man, that was like 3 or 4 years ago now. 3 years ago.
What?
Yeah, that was like almost 3 years ago.
Holy cow.
Maybe not 3 years, maybe 2.5 years ago.
Damn. Yeah, this pandemic's got me messed up. I can't believe that.
You remember how smoky that room was?
Yeah. What was that? The Andes?
Yeah. And then we had Alice Moon on.
She couldn't smoke.
She couldn't smoke because she was allergic to weed.
Yeah, her whole thing was she works in the cannabis industry, but she can't smoke because she has a condition.
Yeah.
We just got done literally fucking hotboxing that room for like 3 hours with just back-to-back student glass rips. Nice. She was probably like, well, fuck you guys. Thanks.
I reached out to her to have her on.
Yeah.
Didn't get a whole lot of love back.
No.
Yeah, that was probably a good thing because I was planning to go hard in the paint and ask some serious questions about this condition. If you're listening, you can hit me up. I'll gladly have you on. I don't think she listens, quite honestly. Quite honestly, I don't think she's one of the faithful. But for all you people who do listen, if you've listened this far, thank you a whole fucking lot because it's cool as shit. I appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy some of these. I'm sure some of them you hate, but thank you for listening. And this is just the start. There's some cool shit coming, and I'm glad to have you on, buddy. I'm glad that you did it. I'm glad that it was episode 50, and hopefully this is just the first of many times.
Yeah, I want to be back on. This is my first experience on a podcast. It's my icebreaker.
I know even Louis was on a podcast. Even you weren't there. We drug his ass into Purple Haze Studios to be on the Kicking with Kristen podcast. And she fucking went right at him and was like, so wait, you don't smoke weed? You guys are the Bud Brothers, but you don't smoke weed?
She roasted him, huh? That has been so long I haven't even heard that.
Yeah.
She did something too.
She's in Austin, Texas. It's such a small world. She's got a boyfriend who's friends with my partners in action. And that whole group of friends. He's a photographer. He's got a company called Avon House. His name's Chancellor.
Oh, dope.
Yeah. Seems like a cool guy. I've never met him, but I reached out to her. They're killing it. He does photography.
He was killing it with the coaching.
Yeah.
Nutritional and mental coach, and she worked out her own little niche.
Yeah, do your thing.
Yep. But yeah, man, thank you.
Most definitely. Enjoy your night.
You too.
I'll talk to you.
For sure, man.